So Grace, some of the questions we have coming to us about the content is that it's really American. How have we adapted ourselves as a British culture with American content?
So I think two major things that kind of came up for us, both of which are, I would say, are very minimal. Firstly, I would say I don't think the content necessarily needs to change. I think it's more the application that takes time to figure out how it quite fits for you in your context. And we were chatting a bit about this last week, and I kind of was describing it like a library. A big library full of books. And when I first looked at all of that content and tried to make it fit, I was trying to use the whole library, and it's just picking out those books, individual pieces that fit for you in your context. So the content that Orange has is so rich, it's just the application kind of needs a bit of tweaking. And the two ways that we have seen that is, firstly, the smallest thing is kind of spelling differences. But Orange do provide kind of live files that you can edit their artwork and those sorts of things. We tend to find that comes up so infrequently, we just run with it. And there might be a few spelling differences, but most of the time that's able to be tweaked. We make sure that the craft that the children take home, spellings have been changed and those kind of things. But the artwork that Orange have is so phenomenal that we kind of just bear with that one. And the other one is age groups.
Yep.
That can be a bit tricky. I know that churches all over the country use, split their children's work in different ways. And we have come up with a kind of our own grading system here at ABC to make sure that content fits the ages that we want it to in the right place. And that's another brilliant thing about the ParentCue app, is that it enables you to send that specific content to designated age groups as well. So we've kind of taken a bit of time, I would say, to settle into the way that it works. But now that we have our own rhythm, we just press that download button and we know exactly who are our preteens, who are our high schoolers, middle schoolers, toddlers, under ones, all of those sorts of things. So it takes a little bit of time, but we've now a rolling machine, I guess, in that sort of area. And that's what's so brilliant about Further Faster Network as well, is that we are able to say, actually, this is how we do it. And any of us are happy to kind of pick up the phone and say, walk someone through the way that we do that beginning to end, or the way that we use our age groups here and how we've managed to make that fit.
Yeah, and it's really great that you bring up the network, because we do have these monthly calls where we get to kind of download where we're at, any kind of stresses or strains that we might be facing, and have this real sense of community to come around again and say, hey, you're doing great. Have you looked at this material? This is how we're using it here. This is how we've broken down the age groups here. Hey, they're talking about football here, but they're talking about American football, whereas we're talking about what Americans would call soccer, and it's things like that we're ironing out, but so minimal, aren't they?
Yeah.
And part of those conversations also lead to the content being so relevant for what's going on in the world today, whether that's speaking into some of the issues that are going on, or even more so talking about Jesus and how our youth and our young people need to know more about him. How do we get to have developed this relationship with Jesus? What draws us into this relationship with Jesus? And I think that's the real great thing about Orange, is that, yes, it comes from America, but it is so applicable to anywhere in the world, and you can pick it up and run with it in any context. And having the network to bounce ideas off, to pick up a phone with somebody to say, hey, Grace, I'm really struggling this week. What have you guys doing with this content? Can you share any information? And that's what we are at the Further Faster Network, really willing to help out in anything that we can. One of the other questions that we get asked a lot, Grace, is that it takes away from our team's creativity. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it depends really what you mean by creativity. we have found that it has allowed people to be creative in other areas where maybe before, when we were writing our own content or we were trying to pull lots of pieces of content, we were unable to be as creative. So I would say we are now much more creative in the games that we choose to do on a Sunday morning, in our environments and what they look like. It's kind of freed up the time. We have a lady on our team who comes in and she gives maybe 3 or 4 days a month to creating the environment, so that they tie in with the themes, with the artwork, that children walk in and feel like that they're really valued and loved, and we've spent time thinking about what that environment's going to look like. And she would never have had time to do that before. She's one of our ministry leaders for our preschoolers, and she would have been writing that content previously. So she has been released to be able to do that. On a planning meeting, people are picking up material, and sometimes we choose another game that we've devised ourselves, but because we can pick up the content and use it, we have time to say, oh, I don't think that game would quite work for the kids we've got. How about we do this? And we're kind of stepping out and being bigger and bolder than we would have been, especially in the children's work, because we would have been bogged down with all of that planning before. So we've actually found that it's freeing us into other areas of creativity where we just wouldn't have had the time to do that.
Yeah. And the way the material works is it kind of kicks that creativity, it kickstarts it for you, for some of the guys as well, doesn't it? Working around, like you say, some of the games or some of the arts and crafts. Like, actually, we feel like this would be better here, and we could move it around here and have more of a creative solution or creative artwork or a craft for any kind of topic that you guys cover as well. For the young people as well, for the youth, being able to either use the video or use the questions in your small group time, being able to be so adaptable, with the content that they give us, has just been so freeing to us as well, and being able to create that group discussion where things are going to get a bit heavier, so you want to lead into those discussions. You have the tools, you've prepped all that stuff. You don't need to use everything, but when that conversation comes up or when that discussion comes up, you're ready to go and you've got everything that you need at your fingertips. I think it's just such a fabulous, relevant piece of equipment that we have. So, Grace, one of the other things we have come up, or some of the new churches might be asking us, is the content can be so overwhelming, and kind of going through all of that can put our backs up a little. How are you guys finding that?
Yeah, I think we've been using Orange for about 6 years now, and I was a volunteer in the kids' work and in the youth work when we first started to use it, and I remember those kind of first planning meetings, looking at logging into Orange and looking at the library of what is there and just wondering how we're going to fit that into 45 minutes. We have been really blessed in talking to people at Orange and talking to other churches who use that Orange content, and it took us a little while to realise that the idea of Orange is that it's all there for you to use if you want to use it, but you don't have to use it all. And I think we had to kind of change our mindset on it. We were trying to use every single piece of material and fit that into 45 minutes, when what Orange have there for you is kind of every base covered, but you don't have to cover every base, if that makes sense. And we now have looked at the children that we have on Sunday mornings or midweeks, or the young people that we have, and we've said, this is what would be right for them. What things can we use from the Library of Orange to make that session work to the best of its ability? And the brilliant thing about Orange is that there is so much there. We generally use the same format of things every month, but this last month we looked at the content. We've just been in a planning meeting, and the places that we usually go fishing for content, they weren't giving us what we wanted for our for our environment. So we were like, hey, let's open a folder we haven't opened before. Let's open like their SEN folder and see what games they have in there. And we just found another treasure trove of games and crafts and things that we could kind of dive into and pick out. So rather than like looking at what's on the shelf and taking it all, we kind of go the opposite way and say, I'm looking for a game. What games have Orange got for that session? I'm looking for a craft. What crafts have Orange got for that session? So we're diving for specific things rather than the opposite way around, because otherwise it can be overwhelming. But the Orange content is there with stuff for every eventuality. So if you run midweek Bible studies, it's got stuff there for you. If you run all age services, it's got stuff there for you, but you don't have to use it all.
Yeah, I love the example you used earlier about it being a library, and going in knowing that that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a game, let's go here. If you're looking for a craft activity, we can pull it out from here. And what's great about Orange as well is they have the space guideline as well, don't they, that you can download, have a look and see where all the content is going to be and how it's going to plan to be used. And you can say, actually, we might change it here or do something different here, and it gives you the freedom to manipulate the content where you need it to be for yourselves, and that's been really useful for us. We as the youth, we took a bit of a content break because we wanted to do something very specific, but we were able to do the content, push it out through the areas in our church, and then pick up that Orange content straight away again, and that was all given to us in that base guideline. So it is there. And we would love to chat to you if you ever come across that, and we would just love to chat to you about how we've set it up, and if we can help in any way in setting anything up for you or creating a space for you to chat about that. We would love to have a conversation with you. And again, another great reason to join the network, because there are so many churches that are on this journey as well, and that are really encouraging and supportive of what we do and Orange as well.
And I think it's worth saying that there's so much depth to the content, not only for the children, but for volunteers and leaders as well. We have been on this journey with Orange for kind of 6 years, and there are still things in the content that I look at as the children and families ministry lead and think, I would love to get to using that. Rather than thinking, this is what I want my ministry to look like, and it's got to look like that now. I've just found a whole host of like Bible study notes for leaders on Orange that fit with the content that the kids are learning. So you can kind of maybe give that to leaders a few weeks before, so they're starting to think of that stuff. We don't have the capacity for that right now, and we're not ready for that, but I'd love to get to the point of being able to use that. Yep. And because Orange has everything planned out for you, that's another thing that we have the freedom to go, I'd love to be resourcing our leaders with that, and we have the time to do that, because we're not sat being bogged down by finding content everywhere.
Yeah, and another great thing with the content is, particularly in the youth, they have uploaded their devotions to YouVersion, so you can partner with your young person or your young people as they journey through their devotion through YouVersion. So, and it's such a great give and take moment, asking questions. How did this make you feel? What do you think about that? And again, just such a great resource that Orange have put together for us. So yes, it can be overwhelming, but it is picking those moments, picking that book up, picking that section up to resource a particular area. And, again, such a great tool for us to have. One of the other things, coming with all this conversation around all the content being overwhelming and where do you start, it could come across quite tech heavy. And we've had a bit of experience in that. But again, we've worked that a little out where at our planning meetings, anything that needs to be downloaded or anything like that gets handled by the ministry leader, is that correct? And then gets sent out in a different way. Do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, so as Ivan's already alluded to, we've done tech with Orange in lots of different ways over the years, and one of the amazing things that Orange does is environment. And I think we had one of those experiences where we were kind of envisaging what we wanted the kids ministry to look like. And we were kind of under-resourced for that at the time. So we had our own sound desk and projectors and all sorts of things going. And we were kind of struggling to keep up with that, and momentum and volunteers and all of those sorts of things. And we've, like Ivan had walked through the team kind of scaling that back, and now we have a nice big TV, and I pre-prep all of those videos. They go on a USB into the laptop, someone just presses enter and it plays for them off of a big widescreen TV, and it's I mean, as long as you can click the button, you can run the thing.
Yeah.
And that is because we kind of again took a step back and thought, how can we do this to the best that we can? And actually things run smoother now. We're able to be more creative in other areas because we aren't bogged down with all of that tech. And again, the tech's all done there already for you. There are many files with sound effects, lights effects, all of those sorts of things. But everything is downloadable individually as well. So I download that, and then it's sat on laptops ready for all of our ministry leaders just to press enter, and the session's ready to go. So if you've got sound and tech and lights guys, or young people that would love to have a go in your kids ministries or in your youth ministries, then all of that is available for you, but it doesn't have to be. You don't have to have all of that in order to run the content.
Yeah. Everything is scalable, isn't it? I think that, and that's again the great thing about the material, is that no matter what your context is, where you are, whether you're a tear down or set up environment, the content and the way they've set up the tech is that you could use it to the best of your ability in any environment that you can create. And literally, again, it is a PowerPoint presentation that is, you could use the mock-up that they have on the website, download that and put in whatever you want to do, or just use it as is. But it is literally gets to the point on a Sunday where the group leader just hits the down arrow or hits an up arrow, to go backwards and forwards, and the content is there and it reels off. It gives the freedom again to any of the group leaders to share, speak into, prep other stuff. And I think, again, such an easy tool, such an easy one for the team, for the kids, for the young people involved. Again, we can't speak more highly of Orange. At the time that it's given back to our volunteers, the creativity it sparks in our volunteers, and how we've been able to speak to our volunteers about some of the success stories that's come out of it, some of the wins that we can clearly communicate through Orange. And again, it also gives us a bit of time back as well, I think. We're not worrying about volunteers spending 3 hours, or, we can best do that time, doing other training events or hosting other events for our volunteers and key staff members. That would be really great.
And I think also, as Ivan's already alluded to about curriculum breaks, Orange is so kind of malleable. You can make it fit any, as Ivan was saying, any scale, in kind of the regularity that you need it to fit for. And with any content, there is always going to be something that you see that you would like to do that isn't in the content. So as Ivan was saying, you've just recently taken a curriculum break, but you pop Orange down 1 month, pick something up because it's very specific to your context, put that down again and pick Orange up again. It's because it's a rolling program, it's so easy to do that. We're going to take a little curriculum break in June with our kids that are 4 to 11, because we again want to speak about something very specific to our context, and it's not covered in the Orange curriculum in the way that we need it to be for the kids that we have on a Sunday morning, but we will just do May as usual, have this break in June, and then pick it up again in July. And that's another great benefit of the content.
So I think the final thing for us to say is, if you're not part of the Further Faster Network, come on and join us. We're a great family of supporting you, getting involved with all that you do, and we'd love to just to encourage you in your ministry. Come and join the kids and youth team with the network. We've got some great people on there that just want to encourage you, bless you, and journey with you as we look ahead into what God is doing in the church.